Hi everyone and welcome to my presentation. Today we're going to be talking about the odds ratio. What is it exactly? Well, the odds ratio. It is a measure of association between an exposure and an outcome. The odds ratio signifies the odds that an outcome will happen when shown a certain exposure and then compares it to the odds of the outcome occurring when that exposure is absent. Well, when and where are they used? Well, they are mostly used in case control studies, but can also be used in both cross-sectional and cohort study designs. Well, what about the confidence intervals, you might ask? Well, the 95% confidence interval is used to estimate the precision of the odds ratio. If the confidence interval is high, then this indicates a low level of precision of the odds ratio. And then if the confidence interval is low, then this indicates a higher precision of the odds ratio. The odds ratio was developed to compare the relative odds of the occurrence of the interested outcome. For example, the outcome of interest may be a disease or disorder, and how this is prevalent when exposed to variable interests, such as health characteristics or an individual's medical history. From this, we can determine whether or not a certain exposure is acting as a risk factor for a particular outcome, as well as compare the effect of various risk factors for that outcome. Here, we will learn how to calculate the odds ratio. In the table below, we can see an example of a study looking at the association between estrogen, the exposure, and endometrial carcinoma, the outcome. So the odds ratio equals A times D divided by B times C. So we times A times D, so 56 times 390, and then we divide that by B times C, which is 18 times 274. And that equals our odds ratio of 4.42. So according to the table above, individuals with endometrial cancer are 4.42 times more likely to be exposed to estrogen than those without endometrial carcinoma. Just a handy tip when making the calculation of the odds ratio in a 2x2 table is to ensure that the outcome of interest is always at the top and the exposure is on the left. So how do we interpret the outcome? Well, if the odds ratio is equal to 1, the exposure does not affect the odds of outcome. If the odds ratio is greater than 1, then the exposure is associated with higher odds of outcome. If the odds ratio is less than 1, the exposure is associated with lower odds of outcome. Thank you so much for watching this presentation, and I hope you now have a greater understanding of the odds ratio.